welcome you, our next speaker for today's event. No, a very guest no for this event, Mr. Ron Thomas. Now, who is Ron Thomas? He is actually named as one of the 100 global thought leaders that will inspire you in 2021, cited by the CIPD as one of the top 5 HR thinkers in the MENA region and the Chief Learning Officer Business Intelligence Board. Ron Thomas is also an executive faculty at the Global Human Resources Leadership Institute and Howard University Business School. Also a senior international faculty of Human Capital Institute, a certified master human strategist or human capital strategist, a strategic workforce planner, and a global human capital strategist. He is also a board member of the Bersin by Deloitte's research panel and also by the Harvard Business Review Advisory Council, McKinsey Quarterly Executive Online Panel, Expert Advisory Panel on Talent Management Strategy, HCI. Also, Mr. Ron Thomas is actually the with a global HR background that spans many industries, cultures, and countries, including India, China, Brazil, Middle East, Asia Pacific, and Europe, as well as Ron was actually named as one of the 50 most talented global HR leaders in Asia by the World HRD Congress. And of course, an international speaker on the global stage with expertise on leadership development, HR related conferences, employee engagement, etc. So, again, no, as we welcome our next speaker for today's session, which is a very special guest to lead the first plenary entitled Beyond Strategic Vision, Sustainable People Management. As the next approach, we have Mr. Ron Thomas. Okay. Allow me to check if Mr. Ron Thomas is around. All right. Here is Mr. Ron Thomas, gents and ladies.
Good morning, good afternoon, depending upon what part of the world you're in. My topic today is Beyond Strategic Vision, Sustainable People Management. Sustainability, a very hot topic today. We tend to think of sustainability as it relates to climate. Climate change was in the news quite a bit for the last couple of weeks. What is sustainability? How does sustainability from the people management side tie into the way that we will be running our organizations, moving forward? So let's just take a look for a minute into how that will look inside of an organization. So what is the why behind sustainable people management? What is the how? What is the what? How do we develop that vision for our organization that connects to our people and connects to the environment? So this is what I'm going to take a few minutes just to walk through to give you some ideas to what that means for us inside of the organizational structure. So it's called the triple play. So what 3 prongs will that cover? Societal, economic, and environment. The triple bottom line. You hear that used quite often today. So think of organizational engineering. How do we rethink the role of the organization? We've always been in place to create a profit, and it was always driven from the customer to the stakeholder. And in a lot of cases, the people part of that equation was not addressed. So in thinking of the triple play or triple bottom line, let's think through societal, economic, and environment. And we'll look at it again in a different way on the next slide. So in thinking of that triple balance, what is the manager's role? What is the organization's role in setting the tone for creating this kind of environment so that our employees are connected as much as possible? So that comes down to how do we create that environment that our employees are motivated? So what are we connecting to? The triple bottom line is the 3 points that we just talked about, or as we say, the 3 Ps. So the 3 Ps have changed somewhat because initially it was about profit was the driving factor. Profit, And that came down to stakeholders. In other words, people that had invested in the company. And in a lot of cases, there was not a lot of thought given to the planet. But that needs to change because of the fact that what is our purpose? What is the purpose of the organization? And what role do we play in engineering that? So let's think in terms of the people, a purpose-driven leader. How do we create a purpose-driven organization, which cascades down to purpose-driven leader, which means that organizations could unite around a certain cause. If we noticed a few weeks ago when they had the summit, I think it was in Europe, and the planet was front and center. What is our organization's role as it relates to that? What is our organizational role as it relates to sustainability? How do we create a purpose which could connect our employees? Connected employees means that profit is going to be maximized as a result, which means that will again cascade down to the next level. And we'll look at how we can think through in creating an impact statement or vision statement, based on telling a story off of key bullet points. It's just a matter of wrapping it up and telling a story. A shared purpose can make the firm more productive and more innovative. I saw some research the other week that companies that were highly connected to an environmental approach, they tended to attract people who connected to that purpose because the organization purpose was stated in such a way that people within the organization wanted to be a part of it. So what does that look like? What it means is that we're in the driver's seat. At no other point in time has human resources been in the driver's seat in trying to build a purpose-driven organization coming back off the heels of COVID. COVID was, as I read someplace recently, never let a crisis go to waste. What did we learn from COVID? We learned how important our people were. We know that our people are overwhelmed. How do we connect that and trying to drive our companies in a lot of cases back to profitability? And how do we create an environment that our people want to be a part of? So that means long-term focus, long-term direction. So we think of strategic endeavors could be from 1 to 3 years. But what is the overarching purpose of what we're doing? Are we connecting to those 3 Ps as much as possible, but in a sustainable way that our organizations, our people within the organization want to be a part of it? Or for the external side, the EVP is strong in such a way that people want to be a part of our organization. So we've always heard the term of work-life balance as if you had to choose between one and the other. So that new purpose-driven approach gives us a different vantage point. So what if we talked about balanced life as opposed to work-life balance? So you have to choose between those two, but our lives are composed of quite a few areas of concern. So if you look here, the purpose calling is concerning the health and well-being of our employees, the health and well-being of our employees' family, the finances, paying adequate wages for people to be able to sustain a living, the friends, the hobbies, the work, all of that's connected to a purpose. So as we transition from that singular focus of profit, if we think in terms of if we reach those targets of that singularly focused profit, what does it mean to our employees for the new way that we look at life? And these are the things that we should be thinking about. So there's a lot of different stakeholders that have always been a part of the organization. Internal stakeholder, as well as the employee, is often overlooked as opposed to what happens to the external stakeholders. We have always been concerned about that external stakeholders, and decisions in a lot of cases were driven with no connecting back to the most important component of the organization is its people. So a long-term approach, both in terms of economic as well as societal sustainability terms with regards to the individual's employability. What is our role in making sure that we sustain, again, the 3 Ps, the profit, as well as the planet, as well as the purpose. Employees at all levels need to be connected going forward to the new focus of the organization as we re-engineer, both from a product perspective, as well as the environment. How do we connect those two to make sure that we're on point so that our organizations, our people can see that we are driving the effort and we're doing our role, taking care of our role as it relates to sustainability inside of the organization. So let's go through a small exercise on cascading vision, because you'll hear companies say, we want to be number one. We want to drive number one revenue in this product. Think of this. What does that mean for the people at the lowest point of the org chart? Is that vision effective? If you're saying that we want to be the industry leader within 10 years, sounds cool, but what do I get? What do I understand from my side and connect to that? I did some work for a major airline in Dubai a couple of months ago, and we were the session that I did was around vision storytelling. How can we cascade a so-called overarching vision down to, say, the lowest point of the org chart? And the metaphor I used was that, how do I get the baggage handler who's putting luggage inside of the hold of a plane when it's 50 degrees outside? And then I hear our CEO or leadership team talking about, we want to be the industry leader within 10 years. Can I connect with that? What does it mean from my side as it relates to being an industry leader within 10 years? So the characteristics of an effective vision, is it imaginable? Is it desirable that our people want to make sure that we reach that target? Is it feasible? And is it focused as to how we're going to achieve that? So let's take it a step further in this exercise. That could mean the most revenue and profit, satisfied stockholders, again, triple play, stockholder, customer, as well as employee. How are we going to achieve that? Again, subdependencies, expand globally, reduce bureaucracy, increase vision for product and services. See how we're beginning to cascade it down. Did we get it down to that last person on the totem pole to understand what that overarching vision is? Let's take another step. We took those bullet points and we wrapped those into a story. Within 10 years, we will be the leader in our industry. We will have more revenue, more profit than any of our competitors. Our stockholders and customers will admire us. Our employees will be proud to work here and enjoy more job security. As I tell the story, we're connecting. Because now we're making it as simple as possible. We're keeping it clear. We're using metaphors, analogies, and imagery as we talk through this vision story. We want to evoke emotion. So how are we going to achieve this? To achieve this, we'll need to expand our reach across the globe. We'll need to throw out some of the old rule books to be less bureaucratic and embrace creativity in order to innovate new products and services. Now, notice how the shift when it comes to people. It will be a long journey, but we will take the trip together. And there's no doubt that we will reach our destination. I put the story behind a vision. So if I were to tell that story inside of our organization, that was part of our communication strategy as it related to purpose. Now I can understand the role that would play. Because if we were to achieve what we're trying to achieve, to be that number one, everyone is going to play a role in benefiting from those so-called P's of profit. So let's take it a step further and look at what's called an impact, sustainable impact. Again, we're looking at certain sectors. So in communication strategy, you want to make sure, again, you build a story around all of this. What is the story as it relates to society? Is that clear? What does it mean for the customer? What does it mean for the company and shareholders? What does it mean for the working team inside of our organization? What does it mean for the employee individually? putting that luggage inside the plane at 50 degrees, and you're talking about a big vision piece. Some CEOs have been connected to this thought process for quite some time. Richard Branson, number one, has always said he puts people before profit. And what he means by that, he doesn't mean that he doesn't care about profit, but he feels that if he maximizes the impact of his employees and connects the organization to them, the profits will follow. I had another client in Dubai whose management mantra was take care of the people who take care of the people. If that's the case, I don't need to worry about patient satisfaction scores, because if I take care of the people, that will connect to the employees. So let's take a step to see how that looks in having an impact. Remember, in telling your vision story, are you connecting to all pillars? Are we connecting to all pillars? We just walked around here, society, customer, shareholders, the working team, and then employees inside of the organization. So let's walk through the vision. We need to change in order to become the leader again. Remember the who, what, and why? Being the leader means we will deliver more affordable housing. Society, check. Provide services more quickly. Check. Have less duplications across departments. Check. Working teams. Offer more attractive compensation packages, employees individually. So if we were to create that purpose and work through that purpose and connect every dot, as we tell the story, it comes down to the employees that are going to be connected again to the purpose of the organization. So the overarching P as profit drove all of this at one time. And now we're just looking to try and touch as much pillars of society as we possibly can. I sat in on a presentation the other week, a couple of weeks back in Dubai. I was the co-host of the Future Innovation Summit. And I heard my friend from Nissan give a presentation. And what Nissan does as a metaphor, at every meeting that they have, inside that conference room, every conference room is a red chair. What does the red chair mean? The red chair symbolizes the employee. In their case, it symbolizes the customer. So what if we were to think of that type metaphor inside of our organization? If we filter through our decision and putting ourselves in the employee's position, what will they feel as a result of that? Are we making decisions? Basically thinking through the say 2 Ps of the employees and the customer. So are the decisions we're making going to connect with those two entities inside of the organization? Because if we connect those two, that comes back to having an impact on the entire organization. The employee seat. I see conversations going back and forth online, and lots of time that conversation ears on the side of, well, the organization needs to do this, the bosses need to do this, but lots of times there's no connecting to what is the employees feeling as it relates to that. One of the key pillars of design thinking is you put yourselves in their shoes. So how are we creating the kind of environment that employees want to be a part of? So it is that important. So the pressure is growing. Number one is because you have millennials millennials and new people coming into the workforce that are purpose driven. And that's in complete contrast to a prior demographic, an older demographic inside of an organization. Customers are becoming more and more environmentally conscious. So it gives us a unique opportunity to drive forward and connect, again, going back to the 3 Ps or the triple balance or whichever metaphor you want to use inside of the organization. Shareholders and investors are now holding a higher ethical standard to organizations. Years ago, there was a major oil spill by Exxon. And I think that kind of was a galvanizing force of the impact that organizations could have on the environment. Imagine working at that organization during that time period. But now they're one of the most socially conscious organizations on the planet as a result of being involved in that major oil spill years ago. Millennials and job seekers are seeking jobs with responsible employees. with responsible employees? What are you doing for society? Can you tell that story? Can you connect the three P's to the EVP of your organization? Because by doing that, you're attracting a level of talent that want to come and work for an organization because the organization is purpose driven. Inside of the organization, we could possibly have what looks like this. How do we connect that workforce from a purpose driven perspective? Because this could be your workforce. Some are moving in the right direction. Some are just sitting there kind of cooling out. And the others are actively disengaged, is paddling in an opposite direction. So the more we can get people on the engaged side, and sustainability or sustainable people management is it gives us the opportunity to do that, to get more people on that side of the boat, which drives the profit, which drives the customer, which drives the stakeholder. So the engagement piece is not just a feel good that we try and be nominated as the best place to work, but there's a connectivity to profitability. And looking at engagement and profitability, engagement and performance. If we connect to a purpose, we can drive that a lot further and faster. So we create an environment inside of our organization for sustainability. And that means psychological safety. So teams, organizations feel that it's okay if I make a mistake. It's okay if I say I'm having a hard time. I don't know. Can someone help? If we create that kind of warmth and connecting inside of an organization, organizational engineering, what's going to happen as a result? A lot of good things are going to trickle down. If we look back at that impact statement, I disagree. I might be wrong. I have a concern. I have an idea, but we create an environment where people feel comfortable in letting the organization as well as the management or leadership feel that there's a comforting here in this place, that I don't feel that I'm afraid to even make a mistake or make a suggestion, because the organization has created that kind of environment or created that greenhouse where people can thrive, as a result. So it comes back to the team, the organization, the people, as well as the planet. Perfect metaphor. Everyone is connected. And in order to take that boat and shift it in the right direction and have the propulsion to drive it forward, we have to connect within an organization. We have to connect our people, but the organization has to create kind of an overarching statement for purpose to connect to those employees. And with that, I thank you. Thank you.